Thank you, choir. You sounded excellent. Let us pray. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. The past is a powerful presence in our lives. And sometimes it's a powerful presence for good, and at other times it's not good. I remember working a year in a psych hospital where I worked with human beings, with individuals whose past held devastating sway over their present and over their future. Sometimes they were abandoned, sometimes they'd been abused, but whatever the case was, their past was defining their present. Some of them wished to die. Some of them wanted to kill. But they were all captive to their past. Now, inevitably, all of us are at some level defined by our past. Marianne and my dog, Zeke. Zeke's smart, and he's not so smart. One day, Zeke and Zazie trapped a rabbit in the yard. And now, Zeke always runs to that spot in the same way, every time, every day. Why? Because if there was a rabbit there one time that was fat and slow, there's got to be a rabbit there today, right? Well, not quite. Zeke has created a path where even cactus couldn't grow. Zeke's clueless. He's in a rut. He's trapped in his past. But the same can be true of any human organization, including churches. Institutions are, as a rule, defined by their past, which can be good. This church has a wonderful past. But there are challenges, not just for here, for everywhere, and for us as individuals. Bad dynamics can often persist just beneath the surface following conflict in any organization. And when there's intensity and pressure, along with increased anxiety, these dynamics resurface. And we're all like that. I've done the personality testing on myself, and I am moderately sane, where I'm affable, yes, easygoing, reflective, and mildly conductive under normal situations. Put me under stress, and what do you think happens? Any guesses? Everything falls away but General Patton. Once in one of these conflict training sessions, they put people they called drivers, I'd be one of those. They put us all in the same group to do a task. I swear to God, it was one of the worst days of my life. I just couldn't convince the other folks in that group that I knew exactly what we needed to do. Past success in any organization. Think of General Motors with the big tanks, the big armadas. That might not even be General Motors, but you know what I'm talking about. The big gunboat things, the big caddies and stuff that Americans love to drive. General Motors couldn't get it through their mind that was not the blueprint for success anymore. And now a bunch of you are driving Japanese cars. Past success can be a challenge. What brings success at one point in history, in time, can bring failure at another. Another challenge is that times change. And if your organization is trapped in the past and unable to, excuse me, it's allergy season, unable to flexibly respond to changing circumstances, that organization will find success elusive. And I want to remind you of something. Every tradition began at some point as change. And great churches are those who treasure their past, but are also willing to take the risk of embracing is as good a word as I can come up with, the future. Apprehending the future was what I was thinking of. Now, I'm going to take a little risk here this morning. We have a beautiful sanctuary and a great window. Those of wealth, once upon a time, gave a great deal for all of this. And those of little wealth gave all that they could, all that they were able. This space, this campus, is a living tribute to those who have gone before. It is to you and to me, and some of you were there at the beginning, and I don't mean to exclude you, but it is a gift from the past. But I'm going to tell you something that I hope you can hear. Filling these pews again, first of all, it's up to you, not to your clergy. Filling these pews again will require missional risk on all our parts. Moses was a beloved son in the house of Pharaoh. One day he might have become ruler of all Egypt. Egypt was the superpower of her day. Moses was destined to be an oppressor of God's people. But Moses had a secret past. He was the son of Hebrew parents. He grew up, he saw the oppression of his people, and something stirred in his heart. God was about to use Moses' past to inform and envision his future. Moses remembers his past. He sees the oppression of his people. He lashes out in anger and kills. Don't emulate that. Someone sees his action and Moses is in big trouble. Now, like any intelligent person, Moses runs. He escapes Egypt. He marries a priest's daughter. He's fat, happy, and prosperous. End of story, right? Why would Moses change a thing? He was happy. He was prosperous. Zipporah was a 10. Why would he change a thing? This could have been the end of the story. This great window can be part of the last chapter in the story of this fine church, or the last thing worth putting in there. But it doesn't have to be. Let's look at Moses for a moment. Here he is tending his flocks in the hills in the shadow of God's mountain, Horeb. Pasturing the flocks, he looks up, and what does he see? He sees a strange light. He feels a divine pull. And he says to himself, I must what? I must turn aside. I must turn aside. Do you know how hard it is to turn aside when your name is Zeke? Or do you know how hard it is to turn aside when you think you have all the details of your life filled in? One of the struggles with aging that I see, and I see it in myself, and I know you think I'm a young pup, and it's all relative, right? But I compare myself to 20 years ago. I find it ever increasingly harder, young lady, to turn aside. Because I know how to do things. I've done them before, and they work. Therefore, they're right. Moses was willing to turn aside. And with these words, he exits the beaten path. He leaves the rutted road. He encounters, by the way, God. And then he comes back down the mountain. Notice, God didn't intervene until Moses turned aside. God didn't intervene. He didn't part the waters until they took a step into the waters of the Sea of Reeds or the Red Sea. And Moses comes back down from this theophany, from this encounter with God, and begins a long and difficult journey towards the promised land. Now, here's what I believe. I believe the time has come for Beatitudes Church to once again, like you've done in the past, turn aside. Turn aside for mission. There's before us at this point in time, a wonderful opportunity to turn aside, to look west, to do a new thing that is both different and completely and entirely congruent with your past. Pastor Andria is going to share some of that with you.
What is our next big mission? What will we do to become that which we profess every week, a vibrant, inspiring, and innovative church in changing times? We must do what we as Christians have done since the very founding of our faith. And we must continue to do what this church has done time and time again. We must identify that unique moment in which we've found ourselves, and we must live into it. There is something happening to the west of us. As we sit here today, we are sitting on the very edge of a changing neighborhood in a changing city. And we must look to the west. Let us look to the neighborhood over here that is radically diverse with people from all over the world. A neighborhood that is young and is growing younger. A neighborhood that is vibrant with life but badly needs an advocate. As I move around this neighborhood that is to the west of us and just south of the Beatitudes campus, I hear a call to do what Christians for centuries have been called to do, and that is to tend to the well-being and the wholeness of the community around us, to identify those things that stand in the way of health and to breathe into them new life. We can affect change in so many ways. And it's going to begin by having us go outside these walls and getting our hands dirty. Did you know that the Beatitudes campus looks out over a city park? City park. What if we went out and did neighborhood cleanups? What if we painted over graffiti? What if we planted trees? The campus is already in discussion with the Fry's grocery store about creating a safer space for residents to go grocery shopping. What if we use that grocery store as a vibrant ground for mission and for relationship building? In fact, building relationships is one of the most important things that we as a church can do. Did you know that 100% of the students at Maryland Elementary School are on free or reduced lunch? Let's build a relationship with hungry students. Let's host summer breakfasts for those students who don't have meals during those months. But let's not stop there, because we have an amazing resource right here within our own building. What would it look like if we held weekly movie nights right here in this sanctuary? Or opened up our basketball and volleyball courts as in the community center for the neighborhood to use? Every other Saturday evening, hundreds of people walk through our auxiliary parking lot for food trucks and share a food truck meal. What if you joined me and the youth to greet them and share the news of this amazing church? I don't think I need to tell you that this church is rich and vibrant and committed to its educational pursuits. In fact, many members of this congregation understand that education and mentoring can change lives. You can just talk to the team of dedicated Maryland School volunteers who go to Maryland School every week, who know that one-on-one relationships with students can be life-changing. Each week they tutor and read and garden with the students. If this is something you can do, you can talk to Kathy Kim about getting involved. And right down the street from Maryland School is Washington High School. And that is a school that is filled with amazing students. Perhaps Church of the Beatitudes could be a place where they could come to perform, where they could come to rehearse, where they could come to gather. Let's let those young people expand our horizons here. And we even have a lot to offer in terms of the intellectual pursuits here on the church campus. We have a fantastic and modern library. What would it look like if we opened up a computer lab for students to get on the internet and type up papers for school? In addition to the many vibrant classes that we have on theology and spirituality, there are many teachers and skilled professionals right here in this pew, I'm looking at you, who could stand up and help in relationship with our neighborhood partners to offer a myriad of academic and vocational classes. We could do that right here. But what is the mind without the wellness of the body? We are also equipped to tend to the physical well-being of our community. Do you remember that basketball and volleyball court out back? That's not the only thing we have to offer. Our faithful nurses do blood pressure testing once a month. But what if we partner with local agencies to offer a flu shot and vaccine clinic here on a regular basis? Our wider community already knows that we are a location of physical respite. With our Bishop's Pantry food donations and your donations of bottled water, we can save lives. But we could save even more lives if we thought about being a resource center, where people could come for all sorts of wraparound social care. And community health is also jobs and financial stability, something that we can offer. Perhaps with this resource center, we could also have a wardrobe closet and offer suiting and professional wear for job seekers who are going on their first interview. Perhaps our computer lab could be a place where job seekers could get online and fill out those online job applications. Perhaps you could donate just an hour of your time to help a community member update their resume or practice for their upcoming interview. Finally, this is last but certainly not least, we can tend to the emotional and spiritual well-being of the community around us. We're a church. We know what it means to tend to the hearts and the souls of people in our midst, and we shouldn't disregard that amazing resource that we have. With our already vibrant worship service paired with your individual and invitational spirit, that is a key to a vibrant Sunday morning. It is your invitation and your dedication of your passions and your desire to reach out beyond these walls, to look to the west, that can bring down the barriers and truly welcome people into this place. And in doing so, and in committing and recommitting ourselves to the health and vitality that extends beyond this wall, we can share with those around us that we are truly that vibrant, inspiring, and innovative church that we claim to be.
This church has had a vision for many years and has been diligent in its responsibility to the larger Phoenix community. And I tell you that mission is as fragile as the gossamer wings of a monarch butterfly. Mission must be constantly renewed or it will blur and be lost. I believe the time of your renewal is at hand. I believe the phoenix is rising and you can rise with it. The little girl is sent on an errand for her mother, and she's late in returning. And her mother says, rightfully, "Why are you late?" "I met a friend who was crying because she'd broken her doll." Her mother asked, "Did you fix it?" The daughter said, "No, Mommy, I helped her cry." Yes, we need to feel the pain of those who have been dispossessed. We need to sit with them on the mourning bench, sharing their anguish and pain with one another as well, by the way. But to feel their pain is not enough. We have the history. We have the resources. We are called, one and all, by our God to acts of mercy and justice. Are you willing? Are you willing to look back, turn aside, and engage in Mission West? Are you willing?